What's up, guys? I'm Leroy Green, and you're watching Off the Air. Just gotta do that right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Guys, it's Leroy Green, Off the Air. I've got two soccer experts from the great charter school, right?
That's right.
Charter school. Kevin Heise, Emily Heise. Guys, welcome. These are our experts on soccer. We have a special guest coming in later. You guys know Jessica over there. What's up, Jess?
Hey, team.
So today we're going to be talking about the future of soccer in the Midlands. Let's be honest. Football, American football, is the sport of the South, but soccer is like this rising sport that we've all been noticing. It's creeping up. All our kids are playing it. My future kids will probably play it. Why soccer for you two? You guys could have coached and played any other sport. Why soccer for you two?
You want to go first, then?
I just picked it up at a very young age. I enjoy team sports, so obviously having 10 players on the field with you, and I was pretty decent at it. So was not the basketball shooter, and so I just stuck with soccer and came to love it. That's kind of how I got involved with it.
Kevin, what about you?
Well, I think by and large, I started playing when I was 5, 6 years old.
Whoa, you guys start playing at 5 and 6?
Yeah, we started playing, and in fact, the club we're at now, Congaree Rapid FC, we've got our recreational group, West Metro. CRC West Metro has a group for 4-year-olds, and there's some 3-year-olds sprinkled in there too. So it's pretty interesting to see how young they can start.
You can
it's
teach
organized
soccer?
It's organized chaos. It's like herding cats.
I need to see video of this.
But the kids are having fun, and that's what's important. But for me, I got involved very early, and I grew up playing just about everything and going to all the sports camps in the summer and everything else. But by the time I got to high school, soccer's what I was good at, and at the time, I wasn't big enough to play football. I could do it now, but I wasn't big enough to really continue past B team and at a high school level. So I just concentrated on soccer, and that passion for the sport, turned out. I started coaching when I was 18 years old, and here I am at 47. I'm still doing it. So.
Okay. Now let's go back. Last year, how did your teams do season-wise? How did you guys do? Emily, let's start with your team.
So we actually both ended up bowing out of this 2A state playoffs. The girls in the lower state and the boys in the upper state. So for Gray Collegiate, and personally, it was a heck of a year for us on the girls' side. I think we finished 17-5. The only losses coming to Southside Christian that played for the state championship, Academic Magnet, and then 3 schools that we're not in 2A classification. So we had a great year, probably overachieved a little bit, but hopefully we can get back there this year.
Hold on. You downplayed something real quick. For you guys who don't know, she said a heck of a year last year. Let's talk about the heck of the year last year, about a little person. I want to get the name right. Mia Heise.
Yeah, Mia McCall.
Mia McCall.
Okay. I'll let y'all tell it.
Yeah.
So,
well, Mia McCall, she was born March 28th. And right in the middle of high school soccer season, and Emily's team, like she said, they did overachieve last year and advanced to the lower state championship. Our boys team did what we thought the boys team should do. They played for the upper state championship and lost in penalty kicks, go to the final. Disappointing in that respect, but heck of a year. We finished 23-4, and really had a great run at it. But all in the midst of all that was Mia McCall. Okay. And for us to adjust to literally life instead of 2, now 3, and all the trials and tribulations that come with the baby, it was it was unreal.
They're being modest. So, 36 hours after having the baby, Kevin was on the field coaching. A week after
Father of the Year.
Yeah,
Father of the Year. A week after she had the baby, she was back on the field at practice, watching her girls practice. Do you kill Terminators in your part-time? Like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Like, how do you pull that off?
She came, actually, it's funny because she came at the best time ever. Her original due date was April 9th.
Okay.
So I personally wanted her to be born the 30th or Easter, March 30th or April 1st, because that would have gotten me past one more tough region
You missed
game.
it by 3 days.
But I missed it by 3 days. But it was, the Wednesday before Good Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin had off Thursday and Friday, and then we go into spring break. So it actually probably couldn't have happened any better. If that just shows you, you know, she obviously is gonna appreciate soccer too. You know, just by her due date, it was pretty awesome.
A week after she had a baby, she was back on the sideline. I can't. I'm speechless. I'm like, I don't even know how you do that. So, okay, we got a question from Facebook. Yeah. Jessica, what you got?
So, first of all, shout out to everyone who is watching on Facebook Live. We appreciate you. And this question comes from Finlay. They want to know, what are your expectations for next year, being that you guys did so well in your last season?
Oh, yeah.
What are your expectations for this season?
Well, I'll tackle that one first. First and foremost, we're a 2A school. Gray Collegiate Academy is a 2A school, charter school in West Columbia. And we've got, last year we had 15 players graduate or one moved out of our area. So we have 9 returning players off our varsity team, so obviously we'll be filling some holes. But at the 2A level, we're going to be fine. When we get in the upper classifications, going against some of the 4A and 5A schools, which we will play. We're going to play just about anybody we can. But because that's kind of our mantra right now is we want to be an excellent soccer program. We want to be elite. We want to be able to attract top-level players in our program. And the only way you can do that is to play top-quality teams. And to be in that environment. But we'll be fine. We've got a loaded schedule right now, and I think in 2A, when it all shakes down come May, we'll be in the thick of it.
All right. Emily, what about y'all?
I expect to be exactly where we were this year, if not playing on the last day. We graduated 4, and we have a good junior and senior class coming back, and I expect us to give, you know, a run for the money in 2A state championship. I think us and Oceanside Collegiate, our sister charter school, they're pretty tough out, and so. But I expect to see them and, you know, in lower state championship.
Now, how do you guys? Let's transition because you said something about that. How do you recruit for soccer team? I mean,
well, being a charter school, it does have a different. A different attraction, if you will. A charter school doesn't have a feeder program. It does not have a middle school or an elementary school where kids just grow through the process, like in a traditional school. So a charter school, Gray Collegiate, it opened 4 years ago, and kind of the creed is excellent academics and elite athletics, and that's what they strive to do. So our basketball team, boys basketball team, won the state championship last year. Our teams have qualified for playoffs in the first year of high school league eligibility.
Volleyball with the 2 upper state championships.
Yeah, 2 upper states for the volleyball team. So the athletic programs are getting there, and this is really while we don't have any facilities on campus.
Now, how do you guys recruit against those other sports you just mentioned? Your football program is really good. Your basketball program is good. How are you recruiting against girls who want to play volleyball? Can they do both? Well, how are you recruiting?
The word recruit, I think, sometimes gets coined in a negative light. The school has to recruit by what it offers, okay? And really the trick with Gray Collegiate setup is it is a collegiate academy. And what I mean by that is student athletes can go to Gray and earn up to 60 hours, almost 60 hours of collegiate credit, taking college classes on transcript from the time they're 10th graders through the time they graduate, and it's dual enrollment through vetted USC professors, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really a different type of kid that might be wanting something more than what the traditional high school offers of just, hey, I'm going to get my diploma and then I got to start over in a 4-year school. A lot of our kids are coming out with 35, 36, up to 58 hours of college credit, and they're going in basically with almost an associate's degree and saving mom and dad 2 years of
that's a lot of
tuition.
That's a lot of money you're saving.
Yeah, if you just look at an in-state school, you're saving about $20,000 a year. Yeah,
Now, you guys have been coaching for a while. You built a program at BC, Brooklyn Casey. Shout out to Airport. Now, you're building a soccer program over here at Gray Collegiate. How has soccer changed that you've seen it as far as like when you guys played? You talked about just now, you got 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds playing soccer. Right. How has soccer changed, and what is the future of soccer that you've seen on your level, high school level?
I'm the old guy in the group, so let me I'll say this. When I first started playing high school JV soccer in the 7th grade, we had just transitioned from wearing the football practice jerseys, the old net mesh jerseys, as our game uniforms. Okay, when I was in high school, we were still in a situation where we had just gotten our first set of soccer uniforms, and you're talking about 1986. So soccer had been around for about 15, 16 years, or 20 years at some programs. AC Flora, one of the oldest in the Midlands, but in our state, and yet it was just in the mid to late 80s that you really started seeing a soccer program emphasis. And schools like Irmo High School under Phil Savitz, and back then John Bulwer at Spring Valley really brought the concept of high school soccer
to the
dominance,
forefront.
to the forefront of high school athletics, to where it was just as important as any other type of high school program, basketball, football, baseball, whenever it became more mainstream. And so now you're totally away from that, and you've got basically a generation and a half that only knows soccer as a primary sport.
Okay.
Okay, and I think that's the biggest difference. As you look at there now, and a lot of people say, the one thing with soccer player or soccer, hey, they only play soccer, or those kids they're special, one sport specialization and all. But a lot of that's just because those kids choose to do that. It's not because they don't want to play football, but there's not many 5'7", 125-pound kids that are making much of an impact in high school football.
Now,
but they can in soccer.
Now, when did you see, as it for the women's sports? Because for me, sorry, didn't mean to say both. Sorry, guys.
Strike.
For me, I didn't start paying attention to soccer till the 2011 Women's World Cup when they played Japan. It was like 3 or 4 months after the earthquake and the tsunami.
Right.
Did you see like a burst in women's soccer? Did you see a burst in men's soccer when you saw the women's or the men's national team doing something on a national stage?
And if I can interject,
Go
I
ahead.
think a lot of people would agree with you
Yeah,
in
I like-
that. Like, it wasn't like, oh, like all of a sudden soccer became at the forefront of a lot of people's minds, especially women's soccer,
Right.
because it's like this team is so successful at such a high level, and they have been for many years in a row.
And to me, I'm wondering, did that translate for you on a high school level? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't get into it till then. Then my fiance, shout out to Katie, she actually got me into women's soccer. She got the dog a jersey. Like when the Women's World Cup was on, she was like planning out, can we drive to like Winnipeg? I was like, are you what? I mean, she was like trying to figure out. She was real, like she has a helmet. She has like an army helmet on. She has a jersey. She's watching it. She's screaming. She's like me when I watch a Panthers game.
Right.
I mean, the words that come out of that woman's mouth scares me. But did you see like a growth in the sport from that?
Absolutely. I think really for the women's side of things, as far as sports, soccer is the most popular, as far as professionally. But in like 99, I vividly remember Brandy Chastain taking off her jersey, winning the PK shootout. And that even then it was like, okay, UNC has the best soccer team. It was like light blue, UNC soccer. So, but 2011, it definitely all of a sudden was, Abby Wambach hits the header with to win the game. It was one of those things that was like, holy cow. And then everybody was like, this is awesome, you know? Because before then it was like, what kind of game ends in a tie?
Right.
And a lot of times it does. So
Right.
I don't think people really understood the sport until they saw it at that level being played. And I definitely think it's sparked interest all over.
Now, when you mentioned this first generation, this is literally like our parents.
Right.
They're the first generation that has had soccer in their life.
Right.
What is going to propel the sport further? What has to happen for? We've already seen like an explosion in women's sports. Like I know women soccer players. Like I know them. What is it going to take for that next step to happen?
Well, I'll say this, and just something you said just sparked a conversation I had with a parent the other day whose kids are in that 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old range, and they've done, the youth basketball leagues, and they've played t-ball and coach's pitch and stuff like that, and they come out to soccer, and they're like, Kevin, this is amazing. Yeah. We can come out here, and we have practice for an hour and 15 minutes, 75 minutes, and we get to go home. We have a game on the weekend, and it starts at 9 and it's over at 10. They said we can go home. We can plan around it. He said somewhere in baseball games lasted 2 hours. He said so all of a sudden he's got 3 or 4 kids, and he's like, Kevin, I'm signing them all up for soccer. and you know, it had not hit me really until he said that, and I was like, the game is convenient.
Yeah.
And you look at television, the old bugaboo about soccer back in the day was, how do you advertise for soccer? Well, now they just put the graphics up at the top, and it's just
and it's on the sideline all
absolutely.
along the thing. You'll see them rotating.
Absolutely. So, you know, that marketing, but the game fits in a 2-hour window. You can throw halftime, you can do analysis, you can do your pregame, and it's in a 2-hour window. It's made for it. And, you know, so I think that part of it has really helped spur the television part. I mean, when I grew up, we had Soccer Made in Germany that came in at 7 o'clock in the morning, Saturday mornings. So we had to get up to watch one 30-minute program on soccer. Right now, you can cut on any channel, and there's soccer all the time. English Premier League, Bundesliga,
MLS.
and Major League Soccer. I mean,
And there's talk shows,
yeah,
too.
talk
You know,
shows
it's not
that
just
have it. The podcasts that are out there, the SEC Network with the women's soccer all the time. I mean, it's unreal how much soccer exposure there is.
Tennessee women was playing Mississippi State yesterday at World of Beer. We were out there watching the Panthers game, and on another TV, it was the Tennessee women versus Mississippi State.
Exactly.
And we were watching both of them while the Falcons were in overtime against the Saints. And I was watching that match, and I was like, okay, cool.
And would you have seen that 10 or 12 years ago?
No.
That just shows you how it has. It's got a little bit of a footprint in there now.
Now, would you say, now this is one question I've noticed, somebody talking to parents. Sports are expensive. The AAU is expensive.
Right.
Is soccer getting expensive? Is it cheaper to play, or what are you guys seeing as far as like coaches?
It's the cheapest, I
Is
think.
it?
I mean, it's all relative. Like,
Okay.
you got to pay for something,
Yes.
unfortunately. You know, it's just the day and age. I've got a 11-year-old niece, and she's like, can I get this? Can I get that? Is this free? I'm like, no, nothing's free anymore. We went to Nashville, and she's wanting a sticker from every place we go into, and we're like, that's not free. You know, so with that being said, soccer is, I think, the cheapest, sport to play because you need a ball. You need a $20 ball and some shin guards, and as far as league fees and stuff like that, it's very reasonable compared to a lot of sports out there, especially the amount of time or as many months as you play.
Well, and I'd like to add too, it's kind of two-pronged there. Soccer, it is relatively inexpensive, but we live in a country that we have a pay-to-play model, okay? And at the club level, which has often become very exclusive and has alienated a certain segment of our population based on just demographics.
Well, that you mentioned that.
Right.
You mentioned that earlier. So let's go back to the national team. You were saying when you were watching the national team, you were wondering where are Hispanic players, where are African American players?
Right.
Is that due to the fact that these pay-to-play programs are pricing out some of these kids?
Absolutely, there's no question about it, and that's where U.S. soccer. When people say, why can't a country of 320 million qualify for the World Cup? Well, it should be a no-brainer. We ought to be able to roll the ball out there with 11 players. Heck, I don't care
11.
I don't care if the 11 players came from South Texas. I don't care if they came from Southern California. You've got 11 in just those markets that would qualify from a CONCACAF region. Our problem.
Now, hold on. Explain that region. It's the conflict.
It's
for those who don't know.
CONCACAF is the region the United States plays out of with Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean, and the Central American countries. And that's CONCACAF. But with that, and let's face it, Mexico puts a premium on soccer, and they're going to always be in that rotation. But the United States should be right there with it. Canada, here, but the Costa Ricas and those others, they have their place. But we shouldn't be sweating it out to qualify.
The Dominican
The last
Republic.
day.
No,
Or
we
Panama.
Should, Panama. We shouldn't have that. That should not be a U.S. problem, but it is because of our model. I think our model punished us in this last qualifying for the Men's World Cup to the point where it's made us really look at the establishment of how U.S. soccer's based. And I think that has been a good thing. If you have a crisis, sometimes it takes a crisis to give you that wake-up call. And I think that's something we're seeing. And if you look at the makeup of the national team and what the body, the federation's trying to do right now, you're seeing some new blood and you're seeing some more brown and black, which in our country, the diversity, you need that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's reflective of what we should have in our program.
Because that's one of the things that I wondered is like, how are we not seeing a 19-year-old kid on the national team?
Right.
France had a 19-year-old kid basically win it all for them.
Right.
And I'm like, how do we not? And I'm not knocking some of our older players. You talked about Landon Donovan, but like, where is our farm system?
Right.
And that's what I wonder. What's the difference between the men's program and the women's program? That the women have premier athletes, and the men's program seems to be lacking a little bit.
Right. Well, I'll say this: U.S. Soccer came up with this development academy program 10 years or so ago, and basically this was the model where that 1% or 2% of the population that played soccer, they would go SU high school. They're not going to go that route. They're not going to play local club. They're going to play in an academy system. And that's a great concept. And it's really the way our country should go in a lot of respects. But then we had a lot of clubs jump in the academy. Hey, I want to offer academy soccer. But yet we're still, instead of charging somebody $1,000 to play youth soccer, now we're going to charge them $5,000 and throw in a trip to Phoenix and Las Vegas.
Time out. Did you just say $5,000?
And
that's
it's even more in some. Yeah, it's even more in some places. And that's what I said. That pay to play. Just think of all the kids you just kicked out the model. Okay, you just eliminated them. So what happens is the professional organizations, the New York Red Bulls, the Kansas Sporting KC. FC Dallas, those clubs, they can afford to fully fund an academy program. And that's where you're going to see the development at that, where the best talent starts just gravitating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like they do in the European models. All right, that will work, but it's got to be inclusive. And the only way to make it inclusive is to make it cost effective, and that means free.
But that just kills me because if you what you just said, $5,000. If you've got 3 kids and they want to play soccer at a club level, that's $15,000 just to play soccer.
At the development academy level.
Yeah.
Now,
Highest level.
At a local club, you're going to spend $500, $700, $800 to play for a year. Okay, and if you put that up against club volleyball or cheerleading or the dance academies and all, bottom line
He's good with girls sports.
Well, I just know what it costs because I deal with the dads, and they're like, I just sat at a cheerleading competition all weekend. And I was like, how much? Gymnastics. And and they're talking about how much it is, and I'm like, wow.
That's something that me, Joe was special guest. Joe Cook.
Introducing
Joe Cook.
sports reporter Joe Cook, everybody.
Our assistant sports director, weekend sports anchor Joe Cook. Now the reason why Joe was out here is because I want to make fun of him for his San Francisco 49ers hat, and because Joe used to play soccer. So, Joe.
He's mourning the loss of Garoppolo right now.
That's why his head is black.
Rough day.
You got to pour a little bit out for him?
It's a rough day.
So, Joe, tell me about your experience playing soccer.
It was pretty good. Actually, I guess you could say a late bloomer in some ways. I started off playing youth soccer because I wanted to play football. So a lot of people were telling my parents, well, for conditioning, you might want to try soccer first.
That's what we did.
Soccer first.
Like,
you saw that running and all that, and then I ended up playing football, but I actually played soccer my senior year, and I played goalie. So I used a lot of the football skills I learned, because I played tight end and wide receiver, and I loved it. My regret is like, man, I should have played all through high school. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I was able to utilize a lot of my skills, and ironically, I went further in that sport. We went to the playoffs in soccer at IC Norcom High School in Portsmouth, Virginia. So that's
friend of the show,
right? So that was a pretty good experience, and it takes 11, and I love to communicating with your defenders and doing those types of things, and it was really fun. So I enjoyed it. So for me, coming here and seeing that soccer is alive and well, especially at the collegiate level with USC, the women's program, and seeing what Gray's doing, and the Dutch Forks and River Bluffs of the world, just top programs. I always enjoy seeing that. So I think soccer is alive and well. And it was funny. I was talking to Leroy earlier in my previous job. I was working in Fairbanks, Alaska, and soccer is prevalent out there too. I saw the city invest almost $100,000 in turf fields, so they can hold tournaments there. And a lot of kids, like the Eclipse Soccer Club, they grab kids from Fairbanks and they go to Minnesota for a lot of those like USA Cup and Governor Cup tournaments and things like that. So I was surprised at that.
Right,
but
really?
even all the way out there, soccer's a thing.
Well, you say that. A couple of you know where I'm going with this. Our Nike Palmetto Cup that we have over on spring break. Twice we've attracted a team from South Anchorage High School.
Okay, yeah.
And one of the first things, no, this is kind of twofold. The first thing is their preseason when they come down, so all our teams are in mid-season, and it's also usually 80
South
degrees
Carolina.
during
Yeah.
spring break.
Compared to
All right,
Alaska
and these
weather.
kids are coming out, and they haven't
do
played
well.
outdoors. Most of them, they said they go to they play on Friday night. They play in a dome, and like the teams in the South
in the
plays
dome,
West, and
yeah.
East plays. It's crazy, and they play Friday, and then they'll do it again Saturday type thing. And he said, but look at our kids, and those guys are out there dying in 80 degree heat,
It's
the humidity and heat.
out there, it's like the hot Anchorage, we get like 40 or 50 degrees.
famously hot.
You know,
Yeah.
so they
And
go
they're just
very
roasting.
They didn't fare well.
And then the thing is, South Anchorage had won their state championship both years they came.
Yep.
And we're like, hey, we're getting a state champion here
Yeah.
from Alaska. But those kids just weren't ready for the heat. It's not that they weren't good soccer players.
They just
Right.
weren't
They
conditioned.
I think I was there one of the years they did win
Yeah.
the state title, so I think
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that team.
Now, one of the things you just brought up, in Alaska, this sport is booming. Now, you've worked here in South Carolina, in Alaska, and you're from Virginia. How is it like seeing soccer in these different places? I don't want to say where's soccer exploding better, but where were you surprised to see soccer?
I would say Alaska and I was in Fairbanks. I wasn't in Anchorage. Anchorage is the capital. Fairbanks is the second largest city. I guess I was more surprised to see it there because growing up in Virginia in the 757 area, we got programs like ODU,
Right.
which is now ranked men's team, and I mean I grew up with guys that were being recruited for soccer.
Because
things
I always
like that.
remember ODU being either a soccer or basketball school.
Right.
That's what I
Right.
knew. And shout out to
Exactly.
ODU for beating was it Virginia Tech?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
they did.
Virginia
was
Tech this
huge.
weekend.
That was
huge.
huge. But yeah, just growing up in that area, it was commonplace, for soccer to be around or guys or girls to be playing soccer at a high level. Out there, because of the temperature, the average temperature, especially in the winter fall, you can get 20 below out there. So you would think,
nope.
and out there the top
Absolutely
sport,
not.
I'm with you.
and out there the top sports are basketball and dog mushing.
Yeah.
And hockey, of
I
course.
can see
so
that.
those
I
are
can
the
see that. Yeah.
top three. You
I can
think
see that.
soccer, but once the weather breaks, I mean, the kids are out there. They're playing. They bring in, a lot of the the U.S. coaches. They come in there for clinics. Kids are part of travel teams, and the fact that the city invested in turf fields for the kids to play in, and they have the Fairbanks Youth Soccer Complex. They have a huge complex where it's tons of fields after fields, and not only youth, there's adult leagues. I mean, it's a big thing out there, and that was really surprising.
That goes back to something the two of you said. There's a passion for this sport. So now, my question is, what's next? How do we grow this sport? Because in South Carolina, let's be honest, this is a football state.
Oh, yeah.
The world revolves around Saturday football.
Sure.
But how do we grow this sport? Because I have USC men's soccer, they bring in 5,000 people. Women's soccer, they bring in 5,000 people. How do we grow this sport for future generations?
Well, I think soccer for a long time had been looked at a little bit as a niche sport, kind of like a hockey, if you will. If you got it, great. If you don't, okay, we really don't miss it. And you had your big three, your football, basketball, baseball, or whatnot. But I think you're starting to see in this generation, we talked about before when we went on air about Atlanta United and the success
Yes.
they've had. I mean, you're talking about 3.5 hours down the road, and they're setting MLS attendance records, and it's crazy. You see the Atlanta United in the red and black all over the city. It's gone insane. It really is.
That's because the owner is a soccer fan.
And one of the first things Arnold Blank said, he said, I have the Falcons for the city of Atlanta. He said, I brought in Atlanta United for my family. His
That's
kids
awesome.
played soccer.
Yeah.
All right. And so, that was a selfish thing for him. He said, but we're going to put as many resources in them as we do the Falcons. So,
And when you go to first time I went to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it is Falcons, and it literally is. It is nothing else. The only thing else that competes with the logos and everything is Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
That is it.
Mercedes got to get their coach.
I mean,
That's fair.
they've got two giant cars, and I'm not gonna lie, but I'm a Panthers fan, but that stadium is nice. With that giant Falcon out there, but everything else, it's soccer.
Right.
It's soccer and football.
Right.
And I'm like, they've invested in this.
They have, and it's paying off. I mean, everything from their training centers and everything else. But you talk about taking that next step. Now you've got an entire 2 generations, that group of 70s, 80s, now 90s, 2000s, that are now adults. I mean, that 90s, 2000s, they're adults. They're in the market now. They're having kids. So you're on really that 3rd generation of soccer people. The game grows through that, and that's why you're starting to see the Soda Cities with 800 people the other night at their inaugural game. The SC United Bantams over the summer, the PDL, kind of like the Blowfish for baseball. The PDL is college players getting together over the summer and playing, and that's a great thing. It's a great outlet, and they're getting good attendance. And SC United opened their new complex off of Mount Cella Road. So it becomes an event. It becomes an attraction. And Columbia being a small market, that's kind of a neat thing that we're seeing at this level.
That was something I noticed. I went to that first inaugural game out there, FC Soda City. Shout out to FC Soda City.
I should have gave you a camera, man.
I was off, Joe. I'm not shooting.
Why not?
Honestly, I thought about it. I was like, I don't see anybody here from the station. And I was like, I probably could have shot this. And I was like, I'm not working. I'm here. So I was out there. We went out there. It was a nice atmosphere. The one thing I did notice we were looking at was all the different kids that had uniforms from so many. So I saw River Bluff.
Right.
I saw Irmo.
Right.
I saw Dutch Fork. And there was something else I was like, wait, what do you got on? And it just ran past me. And I was like, what do you have on? That's something that you brought up too, that South Carolina now is I'm trying to, let me get my thought. So Savannah McCaskill is the Asia Wilson of soccer, because now South Carolina is a stop that we can bring this homegrown talent and they'll play here.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think that, it speaks volumes about the University of South Carolina. You go into their backyard, picking up somebody like Savannah McCaskill. She's gotten several caps now for the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So it's done, wonders for our state.
Because
local Irmo girl that goes out and plays at Carolina and now represents,
the same thing with Asia Wilson, and it's like Asia Wilson could have picked anywhere. She could have went to UConn.
Yeah.
She could have went to Mississippi State. She literally, her and McCaskill could have literally threw out a map and said, I want to go here, and they would have taken her.
Not bad for a couple Columbia girls.
No.
And one leads them to a national championship, the other to a Final
Final
Four.
Four.
I mean, you kind of take that,
the
right?
first time either one of those programs are national prominence, South Carolina with Asia Wilson and South Carolina with McCaskill, because you guys were putting McCaskill a show a week.
Yeah,
like she was getting
Reggie Anderson, our sports writer. He's a Savannah McCaskill fan, and rightly so.
She was winning an award every week, SC Player of the Week. There was something she was getting right up there with Asia, and that's how I knew the name. And that's something I noticed. USC men and women's sports with Mark Burson. The dude has won 500 career games.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you got Shelly Smith out there, her first Final Four. That's amazing.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious, as high school coaches, do you see the success of women's and the men? Does that trickle down? Do you come across kids that say, "Hey, I want to play for USC now," or is there any sort of correlation?
I think South Carolina does a great job of promoting youth sports. Shelly and Jamie and
another husband and wife team.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out.
Right.
I think they're trying to be like Gray Collegiate.
But they do a great job of promoting, youth club teams to come out to their games and walk out on the field with the international walkout and whatnot, with the be the mascots for the teams. And 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 girl and boys eat that up. So all of a sudden, when you're standing by Savannah McCaskill, or you're standing by whoever else, they're like, I want to be those athletes, those people. I want to play for South Carolina. And I think that's where the itch has to start from. You gotta, look up to somebody, and it's easy to look up to programs at South Carolina when they do a great job of promoting it, and they're darn good. We are talking about Final Four last year. So.
Well, Joe, I'll say this too. One of the other things you have to look at as a high school coach, you get so many of these kids. Oh, yeah, I'd love to go play for the USC women. And I'm like, whoa! You got to pump the brakes there a little bit.
Me too.
You're talking about a program. When you talk about a Final Four program, you're talking about a national recruiting base. We're not talking about South Carolina. We're not talking about just South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina. We're talking about a national recruiting base.
International
there's
recruiting.
players all over the country.
USC has a kid from Iceland, isn't it?
Grace Fisk
from
from England. So
Selbeck's
Yeah.
daughter from
Yeah.
Iceland, like they recruit.
I
all
mean,
over
you
the
know,
world.
so you take a look at it. There's a lot of people that want to play at that level, and it just shows you how special it is. But Coach Burson, he's been in an institution for 40 years, and then, you know,
He's the only coach that USC has ever had.
In 1977. Yep.
Amazing.
He started coaching when I was born.
Yes.
I mean, like you said, he's an institution.
Yes, he's an institution.
Now, this is my question. Why didn't, and maybe it's my fault because I wasn't plugged into the sport, why are some of the players who have come from USC, come from Furman? I didn't know Clint Dempsey came from Furman.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
And how do we get that to where kids know that you've had some amazing players come through USC? Because one thing I'd like, working here, Jim Gandy is a soccer nut.
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago,
Yes.
Mark Burson came in and they were going to do an interview on Friends at Five, and Jim Gandy stepped in and was like, "No, you won't." And he did the interview with Mark Burson.
Right.
So how do we promote this sport so that people know and kids know the dude who got 11 saves is from up the road?
Yeah.
It's like, I had no idea.
Well, I'll say this, bang for the buck entertainment. South Carolina, their marketing program for the men and the women. I mean, they offer, if your kid shows up in a jersey, they get in for $1. You can't beat that. I mean,
Yes.
to go to a high quality collegiate sports event.
For a family of 4 or
Oh,
5, that might be,
I mean, you can't beat it. And that's why a lot of people get caught up with going to the basketball game or going to the football game and how expensive it is. But there's a great alternative in some of these other men's and women's soccer, the volleyball, whatever. But I think that is one way, like you said earlier, in South Carolina led the attendance for the women the last several years, or in the top 2 or 3, and the men have been right there in the top 5 or 7 in the last 4 or 5 years. Again, that marketing program, and I think you will see when those 4,000 or 5,000 go to that college soccer game. Well, all of a sudden, when those 22, 21, 18-year-olds become 35 and they're having their kids, they'll be the ones filling up, and all of a sudden that 5,000 might be 10,000.
Yeah.
So, I do think it comes with some incremental growth.
I think, and one of the things I've noticed too is, Jess, you played volleyball, right, Jess?
Yeah.
You played. I mean,
Well,
you
I
still
played soccer too. I played
you
soccer for 10 years.
Now, what?
Yeah.
Why are you over here?
You never asked, Leroy.
I
No.
didn't know that. I just know you as a volleyball player. I
That's
just know
because
you.
that
like-
was what I played at the collegiate level.
Now, for you, for soccer, what have you noticed soccer growing as a sport, not just a women's sport, but as a national sport?
I mean, like I said, I agree with you earlier. I think that when we saw so much success, especially from the women's team at the international level and at the national level, it started to grow the sport in a way that was so awesome to see, especially as a female athlete. We don't get that kind of recognition in sports, unfortunately, unless we do really well. And it's kind of a bummer. And even when we do really well, we've seen it with I know this is an entirely different subject, but with the pay gap with women's athletes. And I know that's a totally different thing. We won't even go into that. But when you see that kind of success, especially from a female athletic program, and you see the sport grow in such an amazing and huge way for everyone, not even just for female athletes, but also for the male athletes, it was just awesome. It was awesome to be a part of it too at that point, because I was still playing at that point.
This is the thing. I guess I'm trying to figure out the correlation, because when the women won their last World Cup, I remember Nike had this whole big explosion of like all this Nike gear, and I tried to buy some of that, and it sold out so quick. And I'm like, how is it selling out so quick, but I'm not seeing more of it? Right. Is it just because we're in the South, or is it because I remember there were these black jerseys. I was trying to buy one for me and Katie, and I was like, man, that cell phone is not getting paid today. Yeah, I was like, because they were expensive. They had the 3 stars, but I was like, I'm about to get 2 of them, and I was like, dog won't get one today. But I just remember seeing this explosion in this gear, and I'm like, who was buying this? And then when I went out and saw the FC Soda City, I'm seeing these kids in all this gear.
Right.
So I'm wondering, where does this popularity? Is it because we're in South Carolina, we're not in a major market like Atlanta or Charlotte? Cincinnati just got an MLS team.
Right.
FC Cincinnati. Is it just because of where we are, or is it still football is kind of dominating a little bit more?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I mean, football is always going to be king around here, and good. I love college football. I mean, went this weekend, watched South Carolina play in Nashville against Vanderbilt. So, I mean, we all love it and whatnot. But I do think soccer has that niche that, you know, our sport can be not just in the fall, but it can be a year-round spring sport.
Is it a year-round sport?
It is in the traditional sense everywhere else in the world. In our country, like MLS, they're having to, you know, they can't battle head-to-head with NFL and NBA all year. So they start in March and finish up first week of December. Or whatever. So, but it's kind of an invert. We have a summer calendar, so it's really, you know, you got Major League Baseball, you got Major League Soccer, but our area doesn't get a lot of that MLS fervor because we don't have that. You know, we're not a major league city, but if you go to those places where it is, it's huge. You know, it's very
going
popular
through the Atlanta
there.
airport. Everybody. I mean, it's funny. Sunday, you think they had the Falcons jerseys on, but all of them had Atlanta United, you know, soccer jerseys on. So I think where MLS stadiums are and those stadiums that host a lot of the World Cup games or the friendlies, you do see it there. I mean, the American Outlaws,
they're popular.
They're popular.
But I'll say this: I went to a symposium last year in Philadelphia at the National Convention, and they were talking about the demographics of soccer and who's buying the tickets, who's watching it on television as far as the commercials, who are they marketing to, and they hit it square in the 28 to 32. That crowd, that's the group now.
Okay.
So, you know, you just look at it. I'm 47, so I'm on the other end of that spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm 41. Joe, what are you? 27.
31.
31. Really?
Yeah.
You look younger than that.
So,
I thank you. I appreciate it.
so you
Drink
know,
a lot of water.
there you go. So you start looking at that though, and I think that's the thing. So I think it's just going to get more and more popular.
That's
as we
cool.
go.
It's kind of like you build it when they will come.
Exactly. True. It really is. It really is.
Now I've noticed something that me and Joe were talking about. Is soccer really is? We think it's a contact sport, but do you have to like have these conversations like with football parents do? You know, like the whole. Your kid's going to be okay. If they're going to be safe playing this game.
The National Federation in high school, they recognize a few contact sports. Football, wrestling, soccer, hockey. I'm trying to think, what's the other one? Because basketball is not by the federation. As
Really?
far as, lacrosse, that's it. Lacrosse.
Ding, ding.
And you're talking about, and the reason they say that because those are your concussion sports. All right, and that's your physicality. So yeah, we have to have those conversations at times. And U.S. Soccer now, Logan and I did not agree on this, but U.S. Soccer has banned the heading for kids 12 and under. And so the byproduct of that is you've got a lot of kids now, 13 and 14.
They don't know
see
how
the
to
ball
do
in the
it.
air, and their first thing is to flinch or duck or I'm scared of the ball. And I'm like, you know, if you just teach them to do it properly, and you get, believe me, I know we can go down the rabbit hole with the concussion discussion.
I think we should teach it at like age 3.
But there's a proper way to do it that I don't, you know, it's not like we're playing with balls that are waterlogged and weigh 40 pounds like they did back in England when they were made out of leather and those bad bladders and it was always wet. We're playing with a good ball that, you know, it's safe. And if you do it right, you're not going to get hurt.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like in watching it and playing it, it's not really the ball, it's the players. It's like
because I saw a dude Saturday just like they ran into each other, and I was like, ooh, I was like, man, I was like, is he okay?
That's right.
So I was like,
happens a lot. I mean,
I get it from like a keeper's punch or something like that. It's
I
not
mean,
usually
I
the
got
ball.
concussed once playing soccer. I was actually going for a save. It was like right out. It was like on the edge of the box. So I was going to take the ball off the guy's leg. Yeah, so like he wound up, and I got a foot like right to the forehead. But I did get a shutout in that game.
There you go.
It was worth it. But yeah, that's what happens. It's like I kind of agree. It's like if you teach the kids early, form proper technique, not to be afraid of the ball. If everyone gets that early on, there's probably going to be less likelihood of collision when kids get older, when they get bigger, faster, stronger, and things like that. Because we try and teach a kid, 14, 15,
13 years old, they're
It's
not
too
going to
late.
do it. You know?
Everyone's out of control.
so teach the kids to take a ball to the face at 3.
At 3,
That's what I learned.
they'll be
today.
better soccer players because of it.
Parents, get your kids out there to take balls to the face. 3 and 5 years old,
Ball
they're
machine.
good. Keep it coming. Like I remember, especially in pop culture, I'm seeing more and more about soccer. I'm seeing it more and more. Will Ferrell had the movie Kicking and Screaming. And then you had they did a remake in London called The Mean Green, which was a remake of The Longest Yard, which I thought was pretty. It's an awesome movie. It is hilarious. I was a guy who growing up, I played basketball, played baseball, and now soccer has really captured my imagination. Like Saturday's my first time going to a match. Other than see my little brother play, like in a rec league, just running around, have no idea what's going on. I really have a passion for this sport. What is the next thing, or how do you propose to get other people hooked on that sport? What would you say is the best thing? Where should somebody go to get that itch?
Well, I will say this: you need to go to a match.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to expose yourself to it. You got to be in the environment. And we've all got non-soccer friends.
Mm-hmm.
That they're not
those Philistines.
They're not soccer aficionados or whatever and all this stuff. But they'll come with us, and all of a sudden you're in a pub and you're watching the game. You go to Cock and Bull or someplace like that, and you
English
get
Bulldog.
You get in that soccer environment, and these people are yelling and they're screaming, they're passionate and all that, and you're like, wait, there's got to be something more to it than just them trying to knock it in the goal at the other end of the field.
Right.
Okay. And once people kind of get that, I think they do start to appreciate the athleticism, the skill, and everything else that goes with the sport. I think, but you got to expose yourself to it. You got to be part of it. It's like if I go to a hockey match, all of a sudden I'm more of a hockey fan.
Yeah.
I know and I understand it more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that's a good point. It's it's funny you mention hockey. A lot of people it moves too fast. Like if you go to a game, you have a different appreciation for
And
it.
USC has a club team for hockey.
They
as
do.
well.
It has a pretty good club team as well. And I think the one thing, and when we talk about soccer, how it's grown, it's almost like there's a big boom around the World Cup time. Everyone goes crazy, and after the dust settles, it's like, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? So like you're saying, like getting people to, watch more games, come out to more games, almost like no matter the level, like come to a USC game, both, women's team, ranked nationally. They put on a really good product. And like you said, the more people that can come out, see those games, get more exposed to it, learn the sport a little bit more, get familiar with some more of the stars, then hopefully, that interest will stay there, like after World Cups or after big tournaments.
Right.
So, because that what you just said, that excitement, when we went to the FC Soda City match, there were a lot of people watching it, but I noticed there were tons of kids who got a soccer ball, and on those the Saluda Shoals fields were just playing it. I'm like, there's a match going on, and they're like, we just want to play it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's awesome. So let's we're about to wrap up, but favorite soccer player?
Favorite soccer player? Oh, easy, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Really?
Ronaldo, the God.
Really? Okay.
God,
Emily?
I don't know if I have a favorite soccer
You
player.
named your kid Mia.
No, that's not it. That's not it.
Not after Mia.
Okay, just checking.
I'm a Duke fan.
She's a
I
good basketball
can't.
player. She's a
Yeah,
good
I can't. Yeah,
Okay.
That'd be
Believe
tough.
me, that came up.
I was about to say. I
That
was
came
like,
up in the conversation.
People are like, duh, that must be why. No, it wasn't. I don't know if I have a favorite. Obviously for the women, I love Julie Ertz or Johnson. She's just a stud. She wins balls out of the air, scores a lot with her head. So if a women professional player, that's probably would be mine.
All right.
Ertz, special lady.
I was
For
say you
football
can throw.
fans.
Yeah.
You give a shout out to Angela.
Oh, yeah. You're
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
Give a shout out to Angela.
Yeah, I had a college roommate that plays professionally for Portland Thorns.
Really?
And they just
They
lost
just lost last night.
last night to North Carolina Courage,
NC Courage.
who is Sabrina D'Angelo plays.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper at Carolina.
Gamecock.
Yeah, former
And,
Gamecock. So it's kind
Tammy
of
Kurtz.
small world, but
Wow.
so she'll be my favorite too.
Yes.
Kevin, what about you?
I don't know. As far as favorite players at the professional level, I'd have to go back when I was more of a passionate fan for the. I was a Manchester United. Am a Manchester United fan, but
Rough
Peter
patch.
yeah, we've had a rough go of it. But anyway, Peter Schmeichel, Edwin van der Sar, goalkeepers. I always kind of favorited them.
I'm looking for one. I just got into the sport, so I'm looking for it.
Just Ronaldo, man.
I don't know if I can go Ronaldo.
Don't jump
man.
on that bandwagon, please.
It's not a bandwagon. He's been
It's
killing
almost
for
over.
years.
It's
Yeah,
almost over.
it's almost over.
For an
man,
up and coming American star, Christian Pulisic would be a good one to
Okay.
kind of hitch on to. And he's gonna be around for a while and probably be the face U.S. men's soccer here shortly, if
All
not
right.
already.
Yeah.
Jessica, what about you?
As far as female soccer stars go, I mean, Brady Chastain. She's had my heart since I was young. After that move, when, like you said, when she ripped her shirt off after she scored that goal, and it just showed. It literally
The family
showed.
show.
Sorry.
It showed so much like strength and power and passion in that one singular moment. And I play all my sports like that.
Oh yeah,
very
you do.
passionate.
Because you play
and
kickball. When we lose, you
Oh,
do not. hold
I'm
back.
very competitive. I
do
don't
not
like.
hold back.
Good for you.
Well, she's
Yeah,
losing
so-
in fantasy football tonight to me. So.
Okay,
No,
listen.
she's
You know
losing
what?
to
I
me.
lost to Emily last night.
She's losing to me.
It's fine. If only Garoppolo tore his ACL a little sooner,
I
things
lost
might
to
have
you
been
the
different.
first week. So are y'all in the league too?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she beat me last night.
Really?
Well, I still got 2 people to.
Yeah, well,
Who you
I
got left to
one
play?
there.
Who do I have? Who plays tonight?
Pittsburgh and
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've got
Fitzmagic.
He's got Brown,
Yeah,
and
I've
I've
got
got.
Magic and Antonio.
But I don't have a
James
good quarterback
Conner.
right now. Blake Bortles, man, I put you on the bench and he gets 33 points. I start him, he
He's
gets 7.
dying.
I'm
That's
like,
how Blake is, though.
What's going on, Blake?
You remember the year he had the second most touchdowns behind Tom Brady.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, how?
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to thank
Yeah,
you guys
that's-
for coming out. Appreciate it. I've been waiting to have this conversation. Thank you, Katie, for introducing me to soccer. For all you soccer fans out there, how can they get in touch with you? How can they go out and see Gray Collegiate, or if they wanna get their kids involved in Gray Collegiate? How do they get in touch?
Best way is email KHEISE at grayca.com.
All right, Emily.
Or the website. But same thing, Heise at Gray.
Cool. Joe, how do they get in touch with you? What's your Twitter handle?
At Joe Cook Sports on Twitter and IG, and me and Reggie will be out there. So
Yeah.
you'll see highlights here on WLTX.
You always see something.
When's the season opener for Gray?
Yeah.
Well, we're a spring sport just like baseball and softball, so we won't kick off officially till 1st of February.
Okay.
So.
Cool.
We got time. We got
Yeah,
time.
we
Put
got
it on the
time.
calendar,
State
team.
championships are in May, so that's the part of the calendar we're focused on.
Maybe we got to have another show right before the season starts. Have you guys on?
That'd be great.
That'd be
All right,
awesome.
cool.
And I looked up Soda City FC's next home game. It's October 13th.
October 13th.
So put that on your
Joe will
schedule
be
as
there.
well. Soda
Hopefully.
City FC.
I'm not doing your work for you. If I go, I'm going as a fan. I'm bringing chairs.
You can,
I'm having
even
adult
if you
li-
shoot it on your phone, I'll
Look,
take
dude,
it.
I'm taking in adult beverages.
Hey, look, if
I
it's a
was
game,
like, if you're working, you might not.
if it's a
working.
game-winning goal situation,
'Cause
it's
I don't
like,
want-
hey, I think I should.
Because
post it
if
somewhere.
something happens, you're gonna hear me yelling and screaming because I'm getting into
That's
it.
fine. It's fan video. We'll take it.
Guys, thank you for watching Off the Air. You can find us on. Where can they find us, Jessica?
Well, if they were watching us on Facebook Live,
Cool.
that's
Facebook.
awesome. Keep watching, but please go and subscribe to our podcast. It's on SoundCloud. It's on iTunes. It's on wherever else you could probably listen to a podcast. That's where you can find us.
Cool.
So check us out.
Thanks.
Please.
Guys, we appreciate you watching. Also, be nice to each other. Be excellent to each other. That's all we ask. All right, cool. We're out. Off the air. Peace.
See y'all.